Hello and welcome to tutorial number 2. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how to set up a new page in Affinity, and I'm also going to show you a couple of simple tools and processes that you can use in Affinity to start building up and creating graphics. So I thought I'd start by showing you the visualization diagram that I created for my poster. I sketched this out beforehand, just like you've done, making sure that I've annotated it all around, what the colors are going to be. I know that I want a kind of a sky in the background. I want this to be Ilkley Moor, or a kind of a graphical version of Ilkley Moor. I've got my little monster there, and I want him to appear in front of the O in Moor, and I want the O in Moor to look like the moon and glow. My credit block is down here, my age rating is there, any other sort of company logos that I want to add are there, and I also want a white border. So we're going to go through the steps of recreating this poster, and hopefully this will show you some of the processes and tools that you can use to create your design. So in Affinity, when you open it for the first time, the first thing to do is to go to the File menu. It's just off my screen recording, unfortunately, but the word File at the top of the screen and New. This will bring up a window that looks like this, and it wants to know what size document we're creating. We're going to create A3 for this, I think, for our posters, so we can print them big. And so I've chosen A3 in the print section. I want it to be portrait and not landscape. You may be doing a landscape poster if that's what you've designed, but I'm doing portrait. And I do want margins. I want 5mm margins, so I'm going to make that 5. That should change all the other ones. There we are. Just click there if you want to copy that to all of them. And then a bleed. A bleed is a bit of extra image that goes off the edge of the page, and in industry we tend to include a bleed because when things like posters are printed, they print them on huge industrial rolls of paper and then they cut them to size, and that process is not always deadly accurate. So a bleed is there just to make sure that the image doesn't stop before the edge of the paper. It's usually 3mm, so I'm going to make my bleed 3mm and click on create. So now we have a blank document in the middle of the screen. So just to give you a bit of an overview of the layout and how things work, this part of the screen here is called the studio, and we have all kinds of different tabs for different functions within the software. All of the tabs can be moved out if you want to. I quite like to pull things that I know I'm going to be using quite a lot, such as layers. Layers is really important. You might want to put that there. Over here we've got tools. So let's go ahead and draw our first object. I'm going to start with a circle, and I'm going to hold down Shift so that I draw a perfect circle. There we go. So looking at the layers panel, there is now one object here. It's calling it an ellipse, and this is a grey circle. And if I click on the move tool, which is the black arrow here, another very important tool for moving things around and also for resizing them, then I'm just going to hold down Shift like that. There we go. So that's for moving things. And then any object that is selected, any vector object in Affinity, has a fill color and an outline color. So if I click here on fill and change the color to pink, it will do that. And then if I wanted an outline, I would click here to choose a color. So it's on black at the moment. And then if I wanted that to be thicker, I'd click here and then increase the width of the outline, and you can see that's giving the circle a black outline. Once again, if I zoom in on this circle all the way, so I'm really close at 1300%, you can see that it stays sharp. So vectors are really useful for things like logos or for idents, because you don't know when you design a logo exactly where that's going to be used. It might end up going on the side of a bus and be absolutely huge, and if it became pixelated when you made it larger, that would be no good. So vectors remain sharp no matter what size they are. So we have one object, it's a pink circle. Let's copy and paste it with, if you're on a PC, it's Control and C and then Control and V. And if you're on a Mac, it's Command C, Command V. There we go. So now we have 2 pink circles. Let's make this one yellow, like that. And you can see that the yellow circle is on top of the pink circle, and that's shown here in the layer panel, yellow on top of pink. But if I right click on the yellow circle and go to the arrange menu, I can move the circle to the back, and now the pink one is on top of the yellow one. To zoom out so that you can see the whole page, it's Command and 0 or Control and 0 on a PC, like that. The next thing that I would encourage you to do is just have a go with some of the tools on this toolbar at the side here. Have a look at the pen tool. The pen tool lets us draw irregular kind of random shapes by clicking, or if we click and drag, we can get curves. And then when you come back to the initial starting point, it will seal up the shape, and that will become a shape, and we can now change the color of the shape. Let's make it kind of turquoise. There we go. And because we drew it more recently than the circles, you can see that it's on top of them. It's on top of them in the layers panel. But if I right click, arrange, move to back, it will go behind and underneath the 2 circles. Move to front, we can see it there. The next thing to tell you about is there is a pencil tool, which you can just click and drag and draw shapes. Kind of a cloud shape. And again, if I come back to where I started, it will create a shape. There we go. Let's make that a color. This is becoming like a cool 80s or maybe 90s kind of design. And if I drag around all of them, it will select all of them. And if I click on group, I can tell it that I don't want a stroke on any of them, like that. So that has grouped them together now. If I just click and drag, they will stay together. And you can see in the layers menu, they've been grouped together. So you do have to group things quite a lot. It makes it easier to work if rather than having a lot of elements and a lot of objects kind of on top of each other, you can just group things together. But if you right click, you can ungroup them, so they all become free agents again. So I think usually my advice with all software is just when you open it up, have a quick play with it. Have a go at drawing various shapes. There are also one nice thing to show you is that if you click and hold where it says triangle, there are a load of kind of preset shapes that you can use. Oh, look, there's a heart even. If you hold down shift, you'll get a perfectly regular version of that shape, like that. Aww. Other thing to be aware of is if you want to change the color of an object to match something else, you can click on it, go to the color dropper, which is here, and then click on another object and it will match the color. That's very useful. And also the hand tool is just for moving around the image. So if you're zoomed in and working on something and you go to the hand tool, you can move around like that. You can actually also activate the hand tool with the spacebar. So the spacebar will do it as well, even if you're not on the hand tool. That's quite a handy thing to do. And again, Control and 0 to zoom out. Okay, so have a play around with it, and I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk about bringing in images to a graphic that we're creating in Affinity Designer. Thanks for watching.